We grow up believing that healing is gentle, that growth is a gradual unfolding, that wholeness is found in comfort, in ease, in stability. But Carl Jung disagreed. He believed that true transformation doesn't arrive softly, it crashes. Not as a gentle whisper, but as a rupture. A break in the narrative you told yourself. A crack in the identity you clung to. It's the moment when the life you built no longer fits. When the roles you played begin to feel like lies. When the mask slips, and you're left staring at what's underneath. Jung called this the confrontation with the shadow. The parts of yourself you denied, buried, or ignored. Not because you were weak, but because the world taught you to be afraid of your own depth. But sooner or later, what you suppress needs to be seen. And when it does, it doesn't ask politely. It tears through. And everything starts to shift. When the rupture begins, it doesn't feel like transformation. It feels like collapse. Like losing everything that made you feel safe. The relationships that defined you fall apart. The career that gave you purpose loses meaning. The version of you that everyone praised suddenly feels hollow. This is where most people turn back. They numb the pain, patch the cracks, rebuild the lie. But if you stay, if you endure the unraveling, something else happens. You start to see the truth behind the breakdown. That what's dying isn't you. It's the false self. The one built from other people's expectations. The one built to survive, not to thrive. Jung believed the self cannot be born until the ego is broken. The rupture is not punishment, it's initiation. A rite of passage into something deeper, more honest, more whole. But it demands that you surrender what you thought you were, to uncover who you really are. This is the part no one talks about. The quiet, lonely descent that follows the rupture. You're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. You don't fit into your old life, but the new one hasn't arrived. And in this in-between, the world grows silent. Friends fall away. Distractions lose their effect. You're left alone with yourself. And that's where the real work begins. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of ourselves we were taught to deny. The anger, the fear, the need, the shame. All the pieces we buried just to be accepted. But now, in silence, they surface. Not to destroy you, but to be reclaimed. You meet your pain not as an enemy, but as a messenger. You begin to understand that healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about facing what's true. And in facing it, you begin to integrate it. Slowly, painfully, but honestly. Everything starts to reflect on your habits, your patterns, your choices. The same conversations repeat. The same pain resurfaces. Not because you're cursed, but because you're being shown what still needs healing. This is when the world becomes your mirror. The people who trigger you, the situations that exhaust you, they reveal what's unresolved inside you. And though it's tempting to blame them, something deeper pulls you inward. You start asking hard questions. Why do I keep choosing this? Why do I silence myself? Why do I need their approval? The answers don't come easily, but they do come. And when they do, you realize this was never about them. This was about you, your freedom, your truth, your becoming. Jung believed that wholeness is not perfection, it's full acceptance of who we are. Light and shadow, wound and wisdom. And that journey doesn't happen comfortably. It happens in confrontation, with the mirror, with yourself. Now you're no longer sleepwalking. You're no longer asking for permission to change. You know what the wound is. You've seen the pattern. And standing in front of you is a choice, not dramatic, not loud, but absolute. Will you go back to what's familiar, or will you step into what's true? Because this is the point where most people turn around. They say it's too hard, too lonely, too uncertain. But Jung was clear: transformation isn't safe. It breaks the ego before it frees the soul. It tears down identities that were never real. And it demands that you build a new foundation, one not based on who you were told to be, but who you are. This choice is quiet. It doesn't ask for applause. It asks for honesty, for responsibility. And once you make it, you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't go back. You don't want to. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly feel whole. Wholeness isn't an event, it's a process. A rebuilding. And it's not made of grand gestures. It's made of quiet things. Boundaries you finally enforce. Silence you no longer fear. Decisions you make without asking if it will make everyone else comfortable. You begin to live from a different center. Not the one built on fear, but the one built on truth. You no longer crave approval the same way. You no longer chase the love that cost you yourself. You notice peace in spaces that used to feel empty. You notice power in the pauses. Jung was right, this is the return. Not to who you used to be, but to who you've always been beneath the noise. Whole, not because you've healed everything, but because you've accepted every part. Especially the ones that broke.